In today's episode, I'm going to help you get more feedback, not just from the people on your team, but really from everyone around you. If this is your first time on the show, hello, welcome. My name is Matt Jertson. I'm a former Air Force instructor pilot, former head of training and development at SpaceX, and now I'm the founder of Better Everyday Studios, a company that helps great engineers become great managers. Feedback is really important, and I'll start with a simple question of: do you think your company has a feedback culture? Based on my conversations and experiences with a lot of different organizations, most don't. Most are trying to get there, but very often one of the big challenges that faces organizations and faces individual managers is the ability to get feedback from other people. And as a manager, this becomes especially difficult because some of the people you most need feedback from are the people on your team, but they're very nervous about giving you that feedback because maybe they had a manager before that didn't want to receive feedback, or they just don't know how you're going to take it, and they're worried about retribution, worried that you're not going to listen to it. There's all kinds of things that they could be worried about. And so as a manager, you need to work very diligently to make sure you're getting the feedback that you need to make yourself better as a manager, that people are speaking up if they think you have a bad idea, if they think there's a better way to move forward. And most often what we do is we say hey, we're open for feedback, we have an open door policy, and you'll end a one-on-one with a simple question of, hey, do you have any feedback for me? And it's usually kind of like, it's often just like a throwaway thing. They just thought that, hey, do you have any feedback? And we think you were keeping it casual, right? We're just cool, we're casual, we just let me know, how's it going? And that question doesn't really go anywhere, right? It usually says, no, not really, I'm all good. And you're like, sweet, excellent, and the one-on-one's done, and now you're like, great, awesome, nobody has any feedback for me. But they probably do. They just didn't know how to access it. And so there's two simple things that I think you want to do in order to make sure that, and this isn't just for your direct reports, this could be other people as well, make sure that people are giving you the feedback that you need. And the two things that you want to make sure, the kind of the two rules are: one, make the ask for feedback as specific as you can, and two, when you're asking it, assume there is feedback, right? So let me tell you what I mean. So with the first one, make it more specific. If we start from the question of, do you have any feedback for me? Super broad. Let's narrow it down to, do you have any feedback for how I led that meeting? Or do you have any feedback for how I'm supporting you on this project? Can I support you any better on this project? Those kinds of things, right? So asking, trying to be more specific about what you're asking for feedback on. That makes it a lot easier for the person to kind of think quickly of, oh, this is how we can do better. The second part of assuming there is feedback is something as simple as, instead of asking, instead of asking, is there a better way I can support you on this project? Or do you have any feedback for how I'm supporting you? Ask, what's one thing I could do better to support you on this project? What's one piece of support you need? Right? So you're putting it out there. You're asking for what is the one thing. That way they're not coming up with it. They're not, throwing it to you and saying, "Oh, this is wrong." You're kind of saying, "No, there must be something wrong here. Tell me what it is." If you can do those two things, I think it's going to be a lot better for just how you're getting this feedback. And then, of course, if you want to keep getting feedback, it's really important that you make sure you are clear of, how you receive that feedback is going to be incredibly important. Because if you're, being really specific, hey, what's one way that you could give, what's one thing I could do better? And then they tell you, and you're, but oh no, I don't know, you're brushing it off, you're not doing it. First, you need to make sure you're taking it in and you're saying, like, thank you, thank them for that feedback, I really appreciate that, I'd ask questions, I'd really like to know more, what do you mean by that? So make sure you're receptive to it, and then make sure you're seeking to understand it so that you really make sure you both know what's going on. And then, if you can do those things, then make sure you act on it. Because the other thing that's going to shut down people giving you feedback is if they give you feedback and then you don't do anything with it. Okay, so the first thing is that you want to ask, in a very specific way, in a way that assumes there is feedback. And then once you get that feedback, make sure you're able to receive it, try to understand it, and then act on it. If you can do those things reliably, I guarantee you're going to be getting more feedback. And that's really what sets the stage to a feedback culture. Because I think very often when we think about feedback culture, we start with the giving of feedback. How do I give more feedback? Where the receiving of feedback is really your opportunity to showcase how to receive the feedback, that feedback is important, how to ask for feedback. If you as a manager can model that, then it's going to become a more common thing. Because the interesting thing in organizations is that, in any scope of life, people model what's successful. Managers kind of by definition are successful. They've been promoted to the role of manager. And so if you are showcasing a particular behavior, others are going to start to emulate that behavior simply because they know you've been successful in the organization. They want to be successful in the organization. And so they're going to start doing those things. So if you're struggling on your team with feedback and developing feedback culture, or if your organization is working on feedback culture, I would say don't start with giving feedback. Start with helping prepare managers or practicing yourself as a manager receiving feedback. Ask for feedback in a better way, receive that feedback in a better way, act on that feedback. And those are the first steps. Once you can do that, then it's going to be a lot easier for you to start giving feedback to other people. Others are going to start giving more feedback amongst each other. And now we really have an organization that's moving towards a true feedback culture that is transparent, where people can share ideas, where people feel safe sharing those ideas. And that's really what we need if we want to have a high performing organization. So I hope you found this helpful. If you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel, share it with other people that you know, and I'll see you next time on the Leadership Launchpad. Thank you so much for listening to today's show. If you are looking for help turning your organization's great engineers into great managers, me and my team at Better Everyday Studios would love to help. We deliver targeted and interactive training workshops that are designed to help build the 3 fundamental skills of any new manager: building trust, giving feedback, and setting goals. Reach out to me through matt@bettereverydaystudios.com so we can start making your organization better every day.